The human ship Horizon Dawn had crossed too close to the storm belt of a dying world. Metal screamed as the ship burned through the sky of Ravakara, a planet once filled with oceans and green plains, now buried under ash and wind. Captain Eli Ward fought the controls, his jaw tight. Eyes focused even as alarms blared and smoke filled the cabin. He didn't believe in miracles. But when the ship slammed into the hard ground and didn't explode, he called that close enough. His vision faded for a moment. When he woke, silence pressed around him. The sky above was red and alive with lightning. He unbuckled his harness, stepped outside, and saw what was left of his ship, half buried, half broken. His crew was gone, scattered or dead. He couldn't tell. The wind carried a strange smell, like burnt metal and sand. He took a few steps forward, breathing through the pain in his ribs. That's when he saw them. Shapes in the haze. Tall figures with armor that glowed faintly in the dim light, weapons drawn. Their skins shimmered like scales under a sun that no longer shone. The soldiers moved in a circle, silent, perfect in rhythm. Eli raised his hands slowly. "I'm not your enemy," he said. His voice sounded weak against the roar of the wind. The soldiers didn't answer. One of them spoke into a small device on her arm, and the others lowered their weapons slightly. Then the crowd parted, and she appeared. The alien who approached was unlike the rest. Her armor was black and silver, marked with symbols that looked carved instead of painted. Her long dark hair was braided with thin strands of metal, and her golden eyes burned like fire behind glass. She carried no helmet. Her face was striking, proud, controlled, and full of a quiet kind of sadness. "I am General Sirai Kayathon of the Scaled Dominion," she said. Her voice was strong, calm, and slightly rough, like someone who had spoken through storms all her life. "You stand on Ravkara, human. No one comes here by choice." Ali nodded. "I didn't. I crashed. My ship's destroyed. I just need shelter." Her eyes studied him like a scientist examines a strange creature. Then she said something he didn't expect. "Give me a children," she said, "and I will give you a place to sleep." Eli blinked. "I think there's been a translation error," he replied carefully. She frowned, her translator adjusting. "You are human. You breathe strong. Our children are dying. The storms burn their lungs before they walk. I need your kind's help. I need a child who can live." He stared at her, stunned. "You're asking me to?" He stopped himself. "No, that's not what humans do." Sarai crossed her arms. "Then you will die in the storm by dawn." For a long moment neither spoke. The wind howled, and lightning flashed across the sky. Eli looked around, the ground cracked and dry, the air heavy with dust. Somewhere in the distance, he heard the faint cries of children. It wasn't anger he felt then, but pity. "I can't give you children," he said finally, "but I can give you help." Sarai tilted her head. "You are one man. My world is dying. And let's start small," Eli said, meeting her gaze. "One breath at a time." Something flickered in her eyes. Curiosity, maybe, or disbelief. She gave a short nod and motioned for her guards. "Bring him to the outpost," she ordered. The alien camp was half buried under layers of metal and sand. Windshields hummed weakly around it, flickering with failing energy. Inside, tents and shelters were built from scavenged ship parts. Everything looked temporary, a civilization surviving on memory. Eli saw wounded soldiers. Engineers bent over machines, and children wrapped in blankets that didn't seem to keep the cold away. The air was heavy with silence and exhaustion. Sirai walked beside him, her pace steady. "We were a proud people once," she said quietly. "Our army stretched across 6 systems. Now we hide from the air itself." Eli listened. "What happened?" "The Great War," she said simply, "and then the storms. We built weapons to burn worlds. The worlds burned back." They reached a metal building near the center of the camp. Inside, the lights flickered weakly. It was a command hall, filled with maps and holograms. On the largest table lay a half-finished air filter, broken and corroded. Eli ran his hand over it. "You use oxygen towers?" "Yes," Sarai said. but their cores fail. We lost the knowledge. We fight to breathe. Eli crouched beside the device, opening a panel. I can fix this. You? She asked. He gave her a small smile. Engineer. Third Fleet, United Colonies. Oxygen filters were our specialty. Sarai crossed her arms again. And why would a human help strangers? Eli looked around the room at the soldiers standing guard, at the exhausted workers trying to stay awake. The silent children staring from behind a curtain. Because no one deserves to choke in their own home, he said simply. She didn't answer, but she didn't stop him either. Hours passed. Eli worked with whatever tools they had, broken cables, melted circuits, even shards of armor. The air grew colder as night fell. The storm outside screamed like a living thing, shaking the walls. Sarai stood by the doorway, watching. Her guards had gone to rest, but she stayed. You do not stop, she said after a while. He didn't look up. Humans rarely do. You bleed, she pointed out. He wiped his palm. It was red from a sharp edge, but he only shrugged. Part of the job. She stepped closer. You could die from our air. He glanced up with a tired smile. Then I'll fix it faster. For a second, she looked like she wanted to argue, then she just turned away, her expression unreadable. By midnight, the old oxygen tower began to hum. A faint green light spread through its base. Eli twisted a valve, and the air hissed clean through the vents. The filters held. The storm still roared outside, but inside, the wind felt lighter. A few alien workers gathered, staring in disbelief. One reached out to touch the machine, whispering something in their language. It works, Eli said simply, stepping back. Sarai approached the tower, placing a hand on its side. The glow reflected in her golden eyes. For a moment, she didn't speak. Then she looked at him and said quietly, You did more in one night than our engineers in a year. Eli shook his head. You just needed a different way to look at the problem. Sarai studied him. You are strange, human. You refuse to bow, but you serve. You refuse to fight, but you fix. Why? He thought for a moment before answering. Because fixing things is how we fight. Something changed in her face. The hardness softened just a little. Perhaps your kind is not as weak as I was told. Maybe yours isn't as cruel as I was told, he said back. Her lips curved, almost a smile. Rest. You have earned a place to sleep. Eli followed her out of the command hall. The storm had lessened. The air tasted cleaner. She led him to a small shelter made of metal plates, a blanket folded neatly on a cot. This is yours for tonight, she said. Thank you, he replied. Sarai hesitated, standing by the door. When I said give me a children, I meant give my people a future. I thought I could take it. Perhaps I was wrong. Eli looked at her, understanding now what she had meant from the start. You don't have to take it, he said softly. You can build it. She nodded slowly. Sleep, human. Tomorrow, we rebuild. He lay on the cot, staring at the metal roof above him. The storm outside still whispered, but it no longer sounded angry, just tired. He thought about Earth, about the endless stars above, and about the strange, proud alien general who carried the weight of a dying world on her shoulders, somewhere deep inside. He knew this was no accident. He hadn't just crashed, he had landed where he was needed. Outside. Sarai stood in the rain, watching the repaired tower pulse with green light. Her soldiers came to her side. General 1 said softly, Do you trust him? She looked at the glowing tower, then at the faint light coming from Eli's shelter. No, she said quietly, but I want to. The wind carried her words away into the dark, and for the first time in many years, the air on Ravkara was safe to breathe. The morning after the battle was calm, almost deceptively peaceful. The red clouds that had once loomed over Ravkara were still present, but they were softer now, edged with streaks of light. Eli Ward stepped outside his shelter, stretching his sore muscles. Every inch of his body ached, but the pain was a reminder that he was alive. And so was the camp. The air smelled cleaner than it had in decades. The towers hummed steadily, sending life-giving oxygen into every corner of the settlement. Children ran freely through the repaired streets, laughing without fear. Alien soldiers trained under the guidance of both Eli and their own leaders, learning not only new strategies, but a new belief that survival could lead to something greater. Sarai Cthulhu joined him at the edge of the camp. She wore her lighter armor, which allowed her agility, but did not diminish her imposing presence. Her golden eyes scanned the horizon. "They will return," she said quietly. "The Dominion will not forget this defeat. They will come again, stronger." Eli nodded, understanding the truth of her words. "Then we prepare," he replied, "but we will not fear them. Not now." She studied him for a long moment. "You are strange, human," she said softly. "You fight not for glory, not for conquest, but because you refuse to let others suffer." That is something my people have almost forgotten," Eli shrugged. "Maybe it's because humans survive by refusing to quit. That's what we do. We keep going." Sarai's lips curved faintly. "And yet you are tired." He smiled faintly. "I will rest when the world allows it. For now, it is enough to know that your people breathe easy tonight." The next days were filled with rebuilding and planning. Eli worked alongside alien engineers, showing them how to strengthen the towers and repair damaged machines faster. Soldiers trained under his guidance, not merely to fight, but to think strategically and coordinate with one another. Children learned to navigate the camp safely, exploring without fear. Sarai observed quietly, often from a distance. She was used to command by fear and authority. But she had learned something from Eli, that trust and guidance could achieve far more than intimidation. Slowly, she began to let go of some of her strict control, allowing her people to experiment and learn. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, Eli found Sarai standing atop a platform overlooking the camp. The towers glowed softly, casting light across the settlement. "You watch too much," Eli said with a grin. Sarai turned her golden eyes toward him. "I watched to learn, and I watched to protect." "You've done enough," he replied. "Your people breathe freely. Your towers hum. You've given them life back." Sarai shook her head. "I gave them survival. You gave them courage. That is stronger than life itself." Eli looked out over the camp. Soldiers trained, engineers worked, and children laughed. The Dominion's shadow had been pushed back, at least for now. "It is strange," he said softly. "I came to this world alone. I had nothing. And now, I feel like I belong here." For the first time, Sarai's expression softened. She did not smile openly, but there was warmth in her gaze. "You are part of this world now, human, whether you wish it or not." Days turned into weeks. Ravkara began to flourish under the combined efforts of humans and aliens. The oxygen towers worked without interruption. Barricades and defenses were improved and strengthened. Alien children who had once gasped for air now ran through the streets without fear. The camp was no longer merely surviving, it was thriving. The Dominion, still licking the wounds of their defeat, remained distant. Scouts occasionally reported minor incursions, but Eli and Sarai's forces were ready. Every new challenge was met with preparation and determination. Eli continued to teach the aliens human engineering techniques, while Sarai taught him the tactics and traditions of her people. Together, they built a system that combined human ingenuity and alien strength. It was a partnership neither had expected, but both recognized its power. One evening, as they repaired a secondary tower damaged by a minor storm, Sarai spoke. "You remind me that even when we are broken, there is a way forward. Even when everything seems lost, there is hope." Eli glanced at her, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Hope is what humans carry. We may not have much, but we never let go of it." She studied him silently, perhaps understanding something about humanity that she had never known. The biggest test came one night when the Dominion launched a full assault. Ships darkened the skies, dropping troops into the outer regions of the camp. The first waves were met with resistance from the strengthened towers and coordinated. Alien human soldiers. Eli ran from turret to turret, repairing circuits, reloading energy cells, and directing soldiers. His voice rang over the coms, clear and commanding. Hold your positions. Protect the shelters. Keep the children safe. Sarai led her personal guard into battle, moving swiftly and decisively. She struck with precision, using her knowledge of both terrain and enemy tactics. Every move she made inspired her soldiers, proving that humans were not the only ones who could lead by example. The battle raged through the night. The Dominion fought with everything they had, but the alliance of humans and aliens held strong. Soldiers moved with coordination, towers hummed steadily, and the children remained safe in reinforced shelters. Eli and Sarai met in the center of the camp at dawn. Both were exhausted, bruised, and covered in dust. The Dominion had been pushed back, their forces scattered. For the first time, Ravkara had survived a full assault without losing its people. "You did not give us children, human," Sarai said softly, her golden eyes reflecting exhaustion and relief. "You gave us something more valuable. You gave us courage, unity, and the will to live." Eli shook his head, smiling faintly. "I only did what any human would do. Protect those who cannot protect themselves." She studied him silently for a long moment. "Perhaps that is what makes your kind. Different. Stronger than we imagined." Weeks following the battle were quiet. The camp prepared itself further. Soldiers trained daily, engineers rebuilt old structures, and children played freely. The towers hummed steadily, and the air was clean. Eli found himself walking among the camp frequently, checking on repairs, teaching new techniques, and encouraging the soldiers. He had become more than a visitor. He was a part of the camp's lifeblood, symbol of resilience and hope. Sarai often watched him work. She had spent her life commanding through fear and strength, but Eli had shown her another way: leadership through guidance, action, and example. Slowly, she began to adopt this style, encouraging her people to trust themselves as well as their leader. One evening, as the twin suns set over the horizon, Eli and Sarai stood together atop a platform overlooking the camp. The towers glowed softly in the dim light. Children's laughter echoed across the settlement. "You see what we've built?" Eli said, a faint smile on his lips. Sarai nodded. "Yes, and it is only the beginning. We have survived the worst, but we will need to continue. The Dominion will not forget this defeat." "Then we prepare," Eli said. "Together." Sarai studied him silently, understanding the truth of his words. Together, human ingenuity and alien strength had achieved what neither could have done alone. Together, they had created a world that could survive, grow, and thrive. Over the following months, Ravkara transformed. The camp expanded into a city, blending human and alien architecture. Streets were rebuilt, shelters became homes, and towers reached higher into the sky. The people of Ravkara no longer lived in fear. Instead, they thrived under the guidance of Eli and Sarai. Learning from each other and growing stronger every day, children of both species played together, laughing freely as they ran through streets once filled with despair. Soldiers trained together, learning both human tactics and alien techniques. Engineers rebuilt the towers, making them stronger than before. And through it all, Eli and Sarai worked side by side, learning from each other and guiding their people. One quiet evening, Sarai brought Eli to the highest platform of the city. Below them, the towers glowed softly. Streets were filled with life, and the air was clean. "You asked for children," Sarai said quietly, her golden eyes reflecting the soft light. "I did not receive them. But you have given me something stronger, a future for my people, a reason to believe again." Eli looked out over the city, feeling a sense of satisfaction he had never known. "I didn't give you children," he said softly, "but I helped you build something better: hope, courage, and a chance to survive. That is a kind of family, isn't it?" Sarai nodded, a rare softness in her expression. "Yes. A family built not of blood, but of trust, courage, and unity." For the first time in decades, Ravkara was at peace. The Dominion remained a distant threat, but the people were no longer afraid. They had survived the storm, the war, and the despair. They had been given a chance to thrive. Eli turned to Sarai. "You said you would give me a place to sleep if I gave you children. Perhaps we found something better. A world reborn, a people united, and a future worth fighting for." Sarai studied him, her golden eyes warm and reflective. "Perhaps that is true. Perhaps that is more than either of us could have hoped for." Together, they stood atop the platform, looking over the city they had helped rebuild. The towers hummed steadily, children laughed freely, and the wind carried the promise of a new day. The cargo ship Resolute drifted through the silent stretch of deep space between the stars. Its engines hummed softly, the only sound in the endless dark. The crew of 8 humans had been searching old trade lanes for months, hoping to find something valuable: an old wreck, an abandoned station. Anything worth salvaging? Captain Daniel Harker stood by the bridge window, his eyes fixed on the star-speckled black. He was a calm man with rough hands and the kind of patience that came only from years of fixing things no one else believed could be fixed. His uniform was faded, his boots scuffed, and his mind always busy thinking about machines, patterns, and the strange rhythm of the universe. He didn't chase money like most scavengers. He chased mysteries. When the ship's scanner beeped, Daniel turned at once. "What's that?" he asked. The sensor operator, a young woman named Riley, frowned at her screen. "Unknown signal, Captain. Weak energy reading. Not natural. It's old, very old." Daniel's heart quickened. "Location? 3 degrees off our course. Roughly 30,000 kilometers. He smiled slightly. "Bring us in." The crew exchanged uncertain looks. Old signals could mean traps, dead wrecks, or dangerous radiation. But Daniel's calm voice carried quiet confidence. The Resolute adjusted course and glided through the black, guided only by the faint trace of energy that pulsed like a heartbeat in the void. Minutes stretched into hours. Then, out of the darkness, something appeared of vast shape, drifting slowly and silently. Riley whispered, "It's a ship, but I've never seen anything like it." The alien vessel was enormous, shaped like a smooth crescent, its surface etched with geometric lines that glowed faintly blue. It looked both elegant and ancient, its hull scarred by time and meteor dust. No engines burned, no lights shone. It was dead door sleeping. Daniel ordered the ship to stop a few hundred meters away. "Scan for radiation or active systems."
"None,"
Riley said. "It's completely cold." Daniel crossed his arms. "Prepare the shuttle. I'm going aboard." The others protested, but Daniel's tone left no room for argument. "If this thing's been out here for thousands of years, it deserves someone to see it." The shuttle touched down inside a large hangar bay open to space, but sealed by an invisible energy membrane. Daniel stepped out first, wearing his light exploration suit. The air inside was thin, but breathable, the walls covered in strange symbols. It felt less like a ship and more like a temple built for silence. "Record everything," Daniel said through his com. "Let's see what secrets it's hiding." They moved carefully through hallways filled with faint blue light. Most rooms were empty. Machines had turned to dust. But deeper within, they found a chamber that made them all stop. In the center stood a single structure, an oval object about the size of a small car, made of smooth silver metal. It rested on a pedestal surrounded by runes that glimmered faintly whenever someone approached. Riley tilted her head. "Looks like a container. Maybe a stasis pod?" Daniel walked closer. His visor reflected the metal surface. Or a tomb. He reached out and brushed away a thin layer of dust. The surface warmed under his touch, glowing for a second before fading. "Power source still active," Riley whispered. "Captain, readings or strange energy signature doesn't match any database. It's almost alive." Daniel knelt, studying the faint seams around the oval. "This isn't a normal lock. It's not mechanical. It reacts to touch." Place both palms flat on the metal. It pulsed once softly, like a heartbeat under skin. The crew gasped. Then the glow vanished. The object became inert again. Daniel pulled back, heart racing. "You felt that?" "Yeah," Riley said quietly. Captain, I think it recognized you. They transported the object to the Resolute's cargo bay for study. Daniel didn't want to leave it floating in the cold dark. He felt a strange pull toward it as if it was calling out for help in a language only his instincts could hear. For 3 days he ran tests. Lasers, scans, sound waves, nothing worked. The metal absorbed every frequency and refused to open. But at night, when the ship was quiet, Daniel noticed faint vibrations in the floor near the box. A soft hum, almost like breathing. He recorded a note in his log. The artifact feels aware. It responds when I'm near. It stops when others come close. This isn't ordinary technology, it's something personal. The crew began to joke that the box liked him. But Daniel didn't laugh. He spent more hours beside it, trying to understand the pattern of its energy pulses. One night, he sat alone in the cargo bay. The ship lights dimmed to sleep mode. The metal glowed faintly under the emergency lights. Daniel rested one hand on it. You're waiting for someone, aren't you? He said quietly. Maybe you've been waiting too long. The box pulsed again stronger this time. He ran to the bridge. Riley, I want a detailed energy scan focused on emotional resonance frequencies. She blinked. Emotional what? Just trust me, he said. When the scan results came back, even Riley couldn't explain them. The device didn't respond to mechanical input but showed energy spikes when Daniel spoke near it. Human voice patterns triggered microscopic reactions in the outer shell. It reacts to tone. Not tools, Riley said slowly. Daniel smiled faintly. Then we're done using machines. Bring me an acoustic amplifier. For the next day, Daniel recorded a sequence of spoken tones, gentle vibrations, and harmonic pulses designed to mimic calm human emotion: curiosity, compassion, comfort. The crew watched from behind safety glass as he replayed the sequence near the artifact. The box shimmered faintly, and for the first time, they heard a soft sound, a low, melodic note that filled the room. Is that music? Riley whispered. The hum grew warmer, then faded. Daniel exhaled. We're close. He didn't know how he knew, but the box wasn't resisting. It was listening. That night, sleep escaped him. He returned alone to the cargo bay. The ship was quiet except for the distant hum of the reactor. He sat on the floor beside the box, his back against the wall, and began talking softly. I don't know if you can understand me, he said, but I think you're scared. Whatever you went through their right's over now. You're safe here. The glow brightened. He continued speaking about his crew, his home on Earth, the endless stars. The warmth and the metal increased, and suddenly a soft vibration ran through his fingers. Daniel smiled. You do understand. Then, for the first time, he felt something more a faint echo in his mind, a whisper that wasn't his own. Alone. Too long. He froze. Who said that? Silence. The vibration stopped. He pressed his hand back against the surface. You're not alone anymore, he said firmly. The box pulsed again. The next day, Riley found him in the cargo bay, eyes half closed, his hands on the metal. The readings on her scanner were off the charts. Captain, your heart rate? I'm fine, Daniel said softly. It's communicating. What do you mean communicating? It's not language, it's feeling. It's matching rhythm with me, like heartbeat synchronization. Exactly. The more Daniel connected, the stronger the glow became. Then, suddenly, a sharp flash of light filled the bay. The crew shielded their eyes. When it faded, the surface of the box had changed. Small slits appeared. Like veins of light across the metal, Riley gasped. It's unlocking. Daniel smiled faintly. She's waking up. But the process stopped midway. The lights flickered. The ship's AI warned of an energy surge. Daniel pulled back, breathing hard. Riley hurried forward. Captain, if this continues, it could overload our systems. Daniel wiped sweat from his forehead. No, it's not attacking. It's struggling. He touched the box again, this time placing his forehead against it. You don't have to fight. I'm here. The light steadied. The hum softened to a slow heartbeat rhythm. He whispered, "You've been trapped for so long. Let me help." The next few hours passed in silence. Daniel stayed beside the artifact, occasionally feeling the faint pulse of warmth against his hands. He didn't try to force it open again. He simply stayed. Patient, calm, constant. He thought of Earth. Of the way humans always fixed what was broken, always tried to reach out even when others turned away. Maybe that was what the universe needed, someone stubborn enough to care. Finally, the voice returned in his head, soft as a sigh. "You human?" Daniel smiled in relief. "Yes, my name's Daniel. Warm. Sound kind. Touch. I'll take that as a compliment." The glow brightened until it bathed the entire cargo bay in silver light. The metal surface rippled like liquid mercury, forming faint patterns that looked almost like a face for a moment, then faded again. Daniel whispered, "Who are you?" "Sleep. Long. Forgotten. We'll fix that," he said. The light pulsed once more, gentle and steady. When the rest of the crew came in later, they found Daniel still sitting there, eyes closed, calm smile on his face. The artifact no longer looked lifeless. It glowed faintly, as if breathing. Riley whispered, "What did you do?" Daniel looked at her, his voice quiet. "I didn't do anything. I just listened." He turned back to the shimmering box, feeling that quiet hum against his palm. It wasn't just an object anymore. It was a presence, a sleeping mind reaching toward him through the dark, and deep inside, something answered back.